All right, so today we're going to dig into a really powerful idea, one that's basically flipping the old rulebook of leadership on its head. It's a philosophy called the whole team leads, and it's all about changing how we work together to solve our biggest problems.
So let me ask you something. When you hear that word leader, what's the first image that pops into your head? For most of us, it's a very specific, kind of traditional picture, right?
Yeah, I'm willing to bet it's this classic image. One person standing at the top of a pyramid calling all the shots. We all know this model. But the thing is, it's just not cutting it anymore.
So let's kick things off with that outdated playbook. Let's really break down why these old rules are failing teams in today's world.
This right here is the heart of the shift. The old, traditional view is all about one person directing traffic from the top. But this new philosophy, it reframes leadership as a collective effort, where every single person is bringing their unique piece of the puzzle to the table.
So, what does this new way of working actually look like in practice? Well, it's a radically new model. It's about shifting our focus from that one single hero to tapping into the collective intelligence of the entire team.
At its core, the whole team leads is pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's about redefining leadership itself. It becomes a shared practice. It's not about who has the fancy title, it's about how everyone works together towards one shared vision.
This quote just cuts right to the chase, doesn't it? It forces us to completely unlearn this idea that leadership means one person is in charge of everything. In this new world, it's a shared responsibility.
This really highlights the pivot we're talking about. We are moving away from command and toward connection. The old way was all about control. The new way is about building connections between people and to a purpose you all share. And that right there is where the magic happens.
Okay, so I know what you might be thinking. What about the manager? What about the team director? Well, their role doesn't vanish, not at all. It just transforms completely, from being a supervisor to becoming an enabler.
And this is absolutely key. The person who is ultimately accountable for the result is no longer sitting above the team. They are in the team, working right there alongside everyone else, more like a facilitator.
So what does this enabler actually do? Well, their job breaks down into three main parts. First up, they create the space. This means building psychological safety, an environment where people feel safe enough to speak up, to challenge things, even to fail without being punished. Second, they provide the structure, things like clear goals and frameworks so everyone knows how to collaborate. And third, they foster the spirit of the team, building a culture that's really grounded in purpose and trust.
This quote just perfectly captures that new role. Real authority isn't about having power over people. It's about giving power to people. It is, in a word, empowerment.
So let's talk about what happens when you make this shift. Because when you go from control to empowerment, the whole feeling around accountability changes. It stops being about pressure and starts being about purpose.
Just think about how accountability can feel. You know, in the old model, it often just feels like surveillance, like someone's always watching you. But in this new model, it becomes shared ownership. People step up and take responsibility, not because they're scared, but because they are genuinely invested in the mission. Now, this kind of shared ownership doesn't just happen on its own, right? It's built on a foundation of mutual trust and integrity. And from there, everyone needs to be super clear on not just what they're doing, but why they're doing it and how their part fits into the bigger picture.
And when you get that right, the result is, well, it's profound. All that anxiety that comes from being watched and managed is replaced by the focus and energy that comes from real, genuine alignment.
Now we get to what might be the biggest payoff of all, innovation. Because it turns out that this entire model of leadership is basically the secret ingredient for unlocking a team's true creative power.
Here's the bottom line. You simply cannot have real innovation without psychological safety. It's impossible. People are not going to share their boldest, weirdest, most brilliant ideas if they're worried about getting shut down or looking stupid. That freedom to take a risk is everything.
The difference in the culture this creates is just stark. A culture of fear, it breeds compliance. People just follow orders and try not to make mistakes. But a culture of safety, that fosters courage. It frees people up to offer new ideas and to experiment, even if it means they might fail.
I love this quote. It makes such a critical distinction. You know, hitting your quarterly targets, that's performance, and that's fine. But real evolution, that deep, sustainable progress, that is impossible without the freedom to experiment, to try things, and to learn from what doesn't work.
All of this builds up to this really powerful concept of collective evolution. It's this idea that leadership is not some solo journey. It's a shared process of growing and adapting together. The whole mindset shifts to you with me. We're in this together, and we're evolving as one.
And ultimately, this model changes the entire goal of our work. It's a shift away from just checking boxes and getting projects done. It's about building something that has shared meaning, something that feels a lot less like a job and a whole lot more like a movement.
So, that leaves us with one final thought to take with you. As you go back to your own team, your own work, ask yourself this question. Are you all just completing projects, or are you, together, creating a movement?